Hey gamers, it's G from the corner here to review the big fighting game once again. This time we're going to be talking about Tekken 8, available on the PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. Now, Tekken and 3D fighters in general have never really been my thing, but thanks to some friends who were big into the series and Bandai Namco's phenomenal marketing, if I'm being honest, trailers week after week after week for what felt like literally an entire year, I kind of fell into the hype. You know, not much really coming out for me personally in January. I know it's a big week for game releases, but, you know, I was like, okay, Tekken seems like the most up my alley, so, you know, why not? I was like, let's give Tekken 8 a shot. I played Tekken 3 once or twice. I've heard of the other games. I know of Tekken. I've never played it, but you know what? This new one looks pretty good. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Tekken 8 is a very complete game with more content than any entry in the fighting genre has seen in years, honestly. But there's a lot more to it than that, so let's just get right into things. Here's Tekken 8. Before anything else, I think we should just start by talking about Tekken's gameplay. Now, Tekken's big claim to fame has never been command inputs or systems in like you'd find in more traditional 2D fighters, but it's combo system. You sit down and you look through the move list in Tekken, and you'll notice characters have like hundreds of moves, but these aren't like complex command inputs. They are all just combo starters. It's all press this button, then this button, these two buttons, then this button, such and such. It leads to, honestly, a pretty overwhelming first experience. You see all these moves, you're like, what do I use? What do I even do? You know, some of them are stance changes, some of them are for specific stances, some of them set you up into modes, but really, you know, it's kind of easy to get a groove for things. You just kind of have to mess around a little bit, figure out what buttons do what can lead into what, and then, you know, whatever you're comfortable with, that's how you play the game. And honestly, you'll do pretty well. I've had a lot of fun playing the game, not really knowing all of my moves off by heart. There are also some like external mechanics present in specifically Tekken 8 as well. There's a rage art system where if the character's health gets to a certain point, you'll be able to do a super just by pressing the right trigger, you know, simple stuff. And there's this new system called the heat mode or something, heat system, heat mechanic, whatever it's actually called. By pressing the right bumper, you'll do a move that'll go into heat mode, or maybe there's like just another specific move you can do that'll send you into heat mode. This powers up your attacks, does other special benefits until you do, again, press the same button, which does kind of a heat finisher. You have this access to this meter once per round, doesn't refill or anything like that. It's just kind of a thing you can pull out. There's no like extra meters like in something like Street Fighter, you know. It's not as complex as things like that, actually. Specifically Street Fighter 6, let's think of like the drive mechanic. There's not as much you can do with that. You can't do parries, you can't like rush into moves, you can't attach it to, it's not like that. It's more simple and honestly casual friendly. It's very approachable. Like, despite all that you would think, like despite that first impression, you know, honestly, yeah, like Tekken 8 is pretty approachable to casuals, especially considering its alternate control style, you know, similar to like Street Fighter's modern, but honestly a bit more gimped. You kind of just have access to a few moves, and that's really it. Like, oh, you can mash triangle to do a combo that the game has set up. You can mash square to do one. Like, it's not really much. But, you know, it's something for the people who, like, can't really be bothered, I guess. It's something if they just want to mash buttons and have fun. But really, even so, actually, you can kind of just get away with that in regular gameplay, you know? You keep going around trying things, you'll find something that works for you, and you'll have fun either beating friends or people in ranked online, you know, just by doing that. You could stumble into these combos just by messing around with the game instead of having to go into the move list and learn everything. It's kind of fun in that way, you know? It's not like my favorite mechanically deep game. I think I'd rather play like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter more often, but Tekken is very fun in its own way, and I highly respect it, and I really have been enjoying my time with just the gameplay in here. And you know, on the topic of like casual experimentation, there is a lot to experiment with because the game launches with 32 characters. Aside from Smash Bros, I really can't think of a fighting game in the last decade that's come out with that many characters. You know, usually I'm so used to like a dozen to 24 or so being the norm with games like Guilty Gear, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, etc. But it's just really nice to see a fighting game come out with this much stuff. You know, they obviously put a lot of money and time into getting all these characters here at launch, and it's not like they're all brand new. You know, they borrow things from 7, but, you know, someone like me who's a newcomer, hasn't played 7, I look at these characters and I just see 32 new characters. I've been playing a lot of Leo and Alyssa. I kind of want to try out Leroy and a handful of other characters, but honestly, like, it's a fun roster. There's a lot of variety here visually and gameplay wise, you know. There's a little something for everyone here. I also really like the stage system in Tekken. I know this is like just a general series praise, but it's really cool how all the stages are designed differently and they have different layouts. There's breakable sections, you know, depending on how a round's progressing, maybe you'll break through a few walls and the final round will take place in a completely different area. It's really cool. I actually genuinely just really like it a lot. But yeah, like I said, a lot of characters, good amount of stages, good gameplay stuff here. Is there anything else to do? There's a lot to do. You know, Tekken 8 just has a lot built into it, you know, similarly to how I felt Street Fighter 6 had quite a lot of content, but honestly to an even further degree. Street Fighter 6 fell into like a handful of trappings of, you know, modern garbage, like, hey, they have microtransactions on everything. There's so many outfits and customization pieces that you have to actually just spend like $30, $40 on. But not the case here. There's tons of character customization. It's such a fun part of the game. You can dress up the roster, put them in different outfits, give them different hair, make them all look completely different. Maybe make your own crossovers. Hey, look, it's Leon S. Kennedy over Leo. Cool. But no microtransactions. It's all based on the currency you get just from playing the game that you know, use to spend on customization items. It's such a fun little extra feature, and there's plenty of other stuff to do aside from just that. You know, there's multiple full story campaigns. There's a campaign that follows up, I guess, Tekken's 7 and the prior game's story. Heihachi Mishima, big man, main character pretty much of the series. He died in the last game, so now it's up to his son and grandson to duke it out for the fate of the world or something. And there's like other callbacks to previous games. I don't need to get into the whole lore. There's plenty of videos on that. Said story mode just kind of takes a simple cinematic with fights approach that you'd see in like Mortal Kombat and such. And you'd think that, okay, well, they're not doing something cool and gimmicky like World Tour or World of Light. But you know what? Honestly, this is the best version of that story mode that I've ever seen. First of all, it's a very short campaign. It really only took me like a handful of hours. I started it one night, I finished it the next morning. Some chapters of it will only include like one fight, and there's plenty of gimmicks throughout. I don't want to spoil them all, but for instance, one chapter, you play through the first round of a tournament, but you get to pick each character, Subspace Emissary style, at the start of it. It's really cool. I actually really like it. It was a fun time. There's also a campaign that's based on like teaching you how to play the game, where you play some dudes at an arcade, learning Tekken, which, okay, that's cute. Not really my thing. I'm not really super into that, but you know what? I'll probably play it because I know there's some unlockables behind it. But hey, you know what? It's cool to teach people how to play the game, have competitive tutorials in the game, as well as just stuff for the casual fans. There's also an arcade mode, of course. That has 8 battles and a boss, but there's also character stories, which, you know, again, similarly to arcade mode, you play 5 battles, but you get like a little cinematic cutscene at the end, and they're all these goofy, dumb, fully pre-rendered, high-budget looking, silly endings. You get stuff like Alyssa's head pops off and explodes the arena because, oh, Lars is so cute. Kuma goes on a date with Panda on the moon. Like, they're just goofy. They're goofy, lighthearted. I love them. They're very good, right? Other stuff. I mentioned character customization. I mentioned story. There's also Tekken Ball, which was a mode from a previous game where it's essentially volleyball, except a fighting game where you have to hit the ball at the other player. You can't attack them by hitting each other. You have to hit the ball. So fun. It's so great, honestly. It's really it's content packed. This game is $90, but honestly, I feel like it was worth every penny because there's just so much packed into it for me to do. It's just right here at launch. I feel like fighting games don't launch like this very often anymore, but it's nice to see this. And yeah, to an extent, Street Fighter 6 also launching pretty content complete. Very happy with it. And we're still going to get DLC in the future, so you know what? The more the merrier. It's great. It's great stuff. Something that I should probably talk about is the online. It's very important for fighting games like this. Is it good? It uses rollback, but apparently you have to go in the settings to actually enable a good version of it. It's really weird. But, I mean, my experience, I'm going to be honest, has been like half and half. The first day, it was really bad. The game kept crashing, like, out onto the system home menu. And I kept getting disconnects all the time when I was trying to play matches with friends, but apparently that all was ironed out. I tried again a few days later, and everything worked pretty fine. The game felt okay to me. I wasn't noticing any lag, aside from maybe a few intro cinematics, but whatever. That might have been my internet. I don't know. It works well, though. It works well from my experience. The visuals are great. It's weird, because when I first saw this game, I thought it looked just like Tekken 7, but then, you know, the closer we got, the more trailers we got, I was like, what the heck? The lighting looks crazy. The game looks really, really pretty. And you know what? Playing the game, having it in my hands, yeah, it looks great. Runs at 60 FPS, looks amazing. The soundtrack is pretty good. Not the greatest, but you know what? You can put in any soundtrack from the prior games. They have access to every single song from Tekken 1 all the way to Tekken 7, Tag 2 in. one included as well, and you could just swap out the music if you want, which is really, really cool. I'm very happy with it. It's nice to just have any song playing on any stage like that. It's really cool. But yeah, in conclusion, Tekken 8, very good, honestly. I highly recommend it. It's one of the most content-rich games. Content-rich fighting games you can get at the moment. I'm going to be honest. It's very good value. It's a very good time. Lots of casual fun and plenty of competitive depth. You know, again, those 32 characters, having that right there at launch, that gives this game so many more legs than something like Street Fighter will, because I'll go in and I'll be like, who do I want to experiment with? There's just so many characters I just haven't played yet because I'm just busy trying to figure out how this guy works or this guy works. You know, it's amazing, right? It's very... honestly, it's kind of consumer friendly for me because I'm not like immediately tempted to pick up the DLC pass. Eddie's cool. I'll try him out eventually when I do feel like getting the DLC, but I have enough to keep me busy for quite a while. I'm sure even sometime after he drops. But yeah, no, that's all I really have to say. Tekken 8, great game. Highly recommend it. And yeah, keep yourselves cornered for more gaming reviews, gaming coverage, all sorts of things in the near future. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.